What is going on, Stock Card Fiends? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Today we are here with another episode of Stock Up, Stock Down, as we wind out the World Cup qualifying cycle, in which we have, of course, qualified for the World Cup, which is absolutely beautiful. Something that, obviously, we didn't do last cycle, and we're a little nervy with this cycle. Starting off the World Cup cycle was pretty rough patch at the beginning, followed by what was some decent games, decent results, and ultimately sort of culminated to the point at which we could actually rest pretty easy going into the last game. So feeling good, pretty excited. I'm going to talk about what I took away from the last window and whose stock is up and down in my opinion. Would love to hear yours down below, so let me know what you're thinking. But this will just be for the last window, and then I'll do here in a couple days sort of a roundup of all the World Cup qualifying cycle and who I thought had the biggest move up or down throughout that cycle. So let's go ahead. We'll start with the stock ups, do the happy stuff first. So first off, I want to go with Anthony Robinson. I thought that he was pretty impressive throughout this window, and I've been more and more impressed with him throughout World Cup qualifying in general. He's someone that initially I didn't really think too much of. I didn't know if he really had a nailed on spot at left back. I thought maybe he was a little questionable, but he's come to prove that he is surely one of our better players on the team, at least in these last few windows. We have had some people out, so maybe that helps him sort of step up a little bit. But with Dest out, he was definitely our standout fullback, so I was very excited with his performance overall. Very aggressive on that left wing. It definitely helps Pulisic a little bit more whenever he's sort of dropping into the midfield a little bit. He can have at least Anthony on the outside to overlap and be able to create those chances out on the wing. So personally, very happy with that. Also defensively, just always up for it. Always really backtracking pretty well and being able to make up for whatever space may be left behind on that left side. So overall, just very happy with him. I mean, honestly, never really saw this from him. Never really expected all this. So to be able to see where he's at now, very comfortable to say that he's our nailed-on left back going into the World Cup, and I don't have really any doubts in my head about that. Now, will he be our left back in 2026? You know, that's a long ways ahead where many things can happen, but as far as the next couple of years that we're looking out for, I think he's basically got that spot nailed down. Very excited with him. Then next in stock up, we gotta go with the man, Christian Pulisic, getting his hat trick. Now, I will say, just to damper the stock up a little bit, he did get a hat trick. 2 of them were from penalties, though. So, was it that great? You know, you can decide that for yourself. But, I mean, obviously, if you get a hat trick for us, I'm going to be excited about that. And compared to where he was before that, let's remember last window, he was actually benched for Jordan Morris in a game that we had to win. And so that's a little scary, just from the Pulisic perspective. We were very down on him, and I think that's why it's a big stock up for me, because just because you get a hat trick, that doesn't mean stock up, especially if 2 of them are penalties. But compared to where he was seen there for a little bit and sort of the run of form that he was in, he's certainly getting his feet under him a bit more at this point. I'm feeling more confident overall with him as well. I will say, though, in open play, didn't do anything too crazy. Like, I mean, he was all right. He was, you know, he was good for Pulisic standards. He was decent, but he still has the problem where he just, you can go into a game and basically say, hey, we're going to foul this guy 15 times and we'll get 2 yellows for it, and that's fine. And you can just push him around the entire game. And he's very bad at getting rid of the ball. So instead of pulling in the defenders that are going to surely throw him to the ground and passing it, he just gets thrown to the ground, and then we have a free kick. And when we don't have Weston McKennie, the free kicks are basically useless. I'll be real with you. We haven't done anything with them of any danger. So it's not really that helpful, but I'm sure over time he'll learn that, I think. Then next up is my boy, my favorite, Gio Reyna. I don't think it's any favoritism. I saw a lot of people sort of freaking out at his performances coming on in the second half. He's still recovering from his hamstring injury. He did play 90 for Dortmund going into the window, so people were optimistic that maybe he would start, but he did not, and that's because we really didn't need him to for the most part. He might have actually gone in and started against Panama, but he sort of had like a stomach bug, so he was saved for the second half instead, which I can't really complain about because, I mean, someone that's coming off that long of an injury, and then whenever he came back, he sort of re-injured it for a couple weeks. You want to be very cautious, and so I'm glad that we were, and it all worked out perfectly fine. But when he came on in the second half of these games, you could definitely see a change in our midfield. I think that was something that we were lacking very much, is any creativity going forward, because we would have Tyler Adams as our 6, and then we'd have 2 8s, and At our 8s, we have Yunus Musa, he's not a great passer, really. He's very good maneuvering with the ball and being able to retain possession and maybe push it forward a bit, but he's not very creative in how we get forward. It's just kind of brute force. And then Kellen Acosta as an 8 is not very good. The only time I've really seen him be good for the USMNT is when we're playing weak opposition and he can be sort of a center defensive mid for us and be in the middle of the park, sort of picking out passes. That's really where he excels, is being able to find someone and maybe throw it in over top, or just picking out passes. That's really what he's good at. Whenever you ask him to be a box-to-box midfielder, it's a lot worse, and that's why we didn't really have much creativity, and we really couldn't get the ball to our attackers in dangerous positions as much as we should have. So once Gio came on, you could just tell, and he had a lot of just really eye-popping passes, and so I was very excited with it. There was obviously that slaloming run down the field against Mexico too, where he beat like 4 or 5 defenders, and that was just a glimpse into what he can be. Overall, I was happy. I did think against Costa Rica he wasn't as impressive as the other games, but we didn't really have it in that Costa Rica game, so I don't think he was anything too worse than what the rest of the team was bringing by any means, so I was very happy with him overall. And then the final stock up is Tyler Adams. Really not as much to say, you know. It's one of those guys where he's just going to do the dirty work, and that's really something that goes unnoticed most of the time. But if you really pay attention to it, whenever teams sort of try to hit us on the counter, and typically the reason that those counterattacks were stopped is because Tyler Adams would just be able to find whatever space was vacated, keep it occupied, really manage the team until people can sort of get back in their positions, and he just did a very good job at that throughout the window. Really didn't see anything from him that was too disappointing for what his role is. He's not trying to, be some sort of creator going up the field. So very good at being able to swing us from side to side and also playing a good defensive role. And so overall, I was happy with him. And I think that there was a time also where people were a little bit more down on him these last couple windows, but it's easy to sort of have some grief with someone that plays in a more defensive position, but it's hard to give them praise, at least from the greater community. So I will do that, because it's not as apparent, but he did very good this window. I was very happy with him overall. Now for the stock down, this is where everyone gets mad if you've invested in these players, so be ready. Well, I guess we can just go with our striker core in general. I didn't really think Ferreira was that bad, to be honest, so I would say Ferreira did the best out of our strikers, Pepe did the second best, and then Pulisic did the worst. The Pulisic chance, that's really all it comes down to. I guess beyond that too, he did a very bad job of being able just to control the ball and have build-up play. So if you're not going to score and you can't build up play and you really can't do too much for anything that we're asking out of our striker, obviously that's very bad. And so there was a lot of people clamoring for him to join up with the team after all of his goals in the Swiss League. Personally, I was one of them as well, because I guess whenever you don't have a striker that's good at all, you just want anything. Just throw something out there. Personally, I really hope we bring in Sargent at some point, because I think he offers a lot of what these guys can offer. But Greg said since he's been playing on the wing, he doesn't know how he'd be as a striker. Fair play, I guess, but I personally think that he could offer a good bit to this team that maybe some of those guys can't. With Pepe, I've been down on Pepe ever since the beginning. Really, I just told people to cool it, just to push the brakes. I know everyone wants to freak out about whoever our 9 is, but you gotta remember, it's a very fluid position. It could easily be changed by some dual national coming on into the camp and just taking it over. So don't be married to someone at the striker position, surely, because even if Pepe's it, the price tag on his cards are absurd compared to what he has done and how nailed on that position is. I could easily see Ferreira being our striker going into the World Cup, because he offers more of what Greg wants out of the team. And if Pepe's not going to be a lethal poacher, then there's really not that much of a reason to play him. So just be careful. Pepe, down arrow. Pulisic, down arrow. Ferreira, I'm not going to put him in the down arrow section, but did want to touch. The next, I have Miles Robinson. Overall, I just haven't been that impressed the last window or two. Whenever he came out of the scene, he did kind of kill it for us, and a lot of people were very excited about that. And I guess I can see why. Center back's not a position that we have nailed on, especially when John Brooks is gone and Chris Richards is injured. So just want to tamper expectations there, because a lot of people got very excited, but I think Walker Zimmerman's been playing better than Miles Robinson has. So whenever the World Cup comes around, if Chris Richards is playing, then I feel like our center back combo will be Richards and Walker Zimmerman, and maybe somehow John Brooks can get back in. I know that's sort of been an interesting conversation where Greg Berhalter says, yeah, he's not exiled from the team. We just don't want him, and we want him to improve a lot before he can ever come back. And he's a 30-year-old center back that probably isn't going to improve at all. So, yeah, seems strange. But overall, Miles Robinson didn't have really a great window at all. And that kind of also leads to the next one. A lot of our defense didn't, and Zach Steffen would be the next stock down. Yeah, I mean, not convincing at all. Like, not convincing at all. And I think that goes to show why we need a goalkeeper that actually is consistently playing for his club, because there was a lot of situations like coming out on corners, like Zach's terrible at it. He's so indecisive, and when he does, and when he has this last window, it doesn't get a good hand on it, as we saw. And then there was the time where he came out for a cross and tried to reach up, and then it bobbled, and then the opponent got a shot right on goal, and he stopped it with his leg, luckily. But that was just a blatant Zach Steffen error that could have easily led to another goal. And then last night, I mean, both of those goals you can trace back to Steffen in a good sense. Obviously, you can do that with every keeper. But with Steffen, he had a really bad punch on one of them, and then the other one, he just could have done better blatantly. So it's tough. It really is. I think Matt Turner's who I'd want to go with, especially in the World Cup. If we're playing some more minnow-type opposition, I think it's good to have a goalie that's good with his feet, because then you can kind of pick them apart a bit easier. But if we're playing opposition that's going to be better than us and probably own possession, then I don't want Zach Steffen. I want someone that I feel like can stop goals, and that is certainly going to be Matt Turner over Zach Steffen. There was this really good tweet that I saw today that said, basically comparing expected goals to how many goals was allowed. Matt Turner, in his 8 games, I think he saved 1 more goal than he should have, and Zach Steffen let in 2 more goals than he should have in his 6 games. So overall, basically what that tells you is there was a 3-goal differential in those games between Matt Turner, Zach Steffen, and I don't think Zach Steffen offered us enough fluidity to be able to justify that sort of number. So that is it for the stock up, stock down. No Greg Berhalter slander today. Personally, I thought he did all right. I'm going to be real. I mean, I don't like the tactics, I guess I would say, because just from open play, this is something I wanted to say this entire window, and I've tried to. We have not been good from open play. Like, a lot of McKennie headers, a lot of penalties, not many open play goals, certainly not as many as there should have been, and that comes down to Greg Berhalter, because, I mean, we have the attackers to be able to do it. We just don't know how to, and that comes back to the coach. But I did think that he played this last window great, just perfect. Because personally, I probably would have sat some guys at Mexico. Obviously, I'm not the coach. Good thing, because if you do sit some guys at Mexico, then maybe you end up in a position where you would have actually needed a result at Costa Rica, and we probably wouldn't have gotten that. So I'm glad that it went the way it did. I thought the lineup he put out against Costa Rica was good. I know a lot of people I don't know, somehow they're roasting that lineup. It was a great lineup, really. I mean, the only thing that could have been better was maybe Gio starting, but in a game that really doesn't mean too much, there's no reason to start Gio. So overall, I was happy with it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the window, enjoyed the USMNT qualifying, and enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. On top of that, would love to hear your thoughts on the window and the overall World Cup qualifying cycle down below in a comment. And if you want to see more videos like this as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.